So it's 8:26 p.m. In October 2025. I've got a draft title for this video called My 2-Month Project, Create Commerce. But in reality, I shouldn't specify that it's going to be 2 months. It's going to be much longer than 2 months, but 2 months is the initial phase. I suppose the kickoff phase, the inauguration phase. So I may scratch that term altogether, but I went down to write 2 or 3 points about what I wanted to cover in this video. And there's been a lot happening over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought rather than try to summarize it, it might be a better approach to just speak what's top of mind rather than try to condense everything into a super succinct package. I think things will come across a little bit more naturally and a little bit easier to consume that way. But regardless, I don't expect many folks to end up watching this video, which is totally fine. My name's Elliot, and I'm currently sitting in Guangzhou, China. It is phase 1 of the Canton Fair has just finished. Phase 2 is a day or 2 away. Canton Fair is the world's largest trade fair. So it's where suppliers and manufacturers from all across China will come down to Guangzhou to exhibit and demonstrate and show their products to international buyers that have come from more or less all over the world. It's a fair that's been running for the best part of the past 75 years. So I think we're now up to, or this year is this current version of the fair is the 138th Canton Fair because it's held biannually, so twice a year. It's been a really interesting time. I first attended Canton Fair this time last year, although at that stage I was only here for 2 days. 2 days of phase 3 last year, whereas this time I'm staying on for each of the full 3 phases. Each phase goes for 5 days, and then there's a couple of days break in between each phase. I first moved to China 2016, and since then have lived, worked, studied, travelled in this country, but also across the region. I think I've hit about 12 or 13 countries in Asia since I arrived nearly a decade ago. And I love it. I really, really love it. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful time. And I see online there's a bunch of people and an increasingly growing list of people who are doing some incredible things, travel, long-term travel, not just in Asia, but also around the world. People that are walking incredible distances, walking from one end of the planet to the other, people on long-distance bicycle trips, motorbike trips, car trips, people challenging themselves to travel the world without buying a plane ticket, and sharing their journey and documenting their progress for the world to see, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, TikTok, other social media. Some of these folks have millions of subscribers, but for the majority of people, they're only just starting out, or they're competing in an increasingly competitive space where more and more people, particularly young people, are coming into this area and see it as not just a short-term thing for between university years or between, say, school and starting in the workforce, but as a potential medium to long-term career, because there are people that have and do make careers out of this. And so in thinking of that, and in thinking of the separate monetization models that exist for people looking to do this, I think for the most part, people jump into it trying to grow as big of an audience as quickly as possible. So shorts, long form, photos, posting, comments. I think it all has great value in compounding someone's presence online. I've gone through and sort of tried to summarize some of the key monetization models, categorize the monetization models across these travel creators, particularly the folks that are doing long-term uninterrupted travel, right? I'm not talking about you work a corporate job and you do 2 weeks in Bali and call yourself a travel creator. Not that you shouldn't aspire to be one if that's what you want to do, but yeah. I'm talking mainly about the people who sort of are on the road and don't have a definitive endpoint. So there's a couple of models, a couple of sort of approaches that people will use, right? So starting with, I suppose, the subscription services or the exclusive community. There are a couple of bigger ones, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, where you might pay $5 or $10 or $15 as a junior member of those membership groups, and then depending on how the creator has structured their program, it may end up being $50 or even $100 to join the most exclusive membership tier within their Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, other subscription service tier structure. So that's one method, and I think that works quite well. But the problem there is, though, that you would need quite a large audience to make any real, to make it a full-time income, but totally doable. And I think that's what a lot of people aspire and set out and aim to do. Another approach would be to affiliate others' products/services. So I haven't written an essay on this, but just in my cursory look over the past couple of months, things like eSIMs and trying to promote eSIM companies or other, I think travel insurance is quite a popular thing to have a travel, have a commission code for, and that type of thing, affiliate link. So we've got travel insurance, we've got eSIMs. They're the two main ones that come to mind right now. Again, it would probably work really well for a large audience. So if a company is offering it and you've got a somewhat engaged audience, I would say that's a perfectly reasonable thing to add to your repertoire, right? Your arsenal of monetization models as a full-time travel creator. So I'm just going to quickly just jot this down here. So you have, affiliate, you then also have like other affiliate programs, right? So affiliating other products or services. So if you're a traveler in a particular region of the world, perhaps there is a travel agent that you would work with closely, or some other type of related service where you can advertise and promote that service to receive a percentage of any business that's brought in. Community. So, and there's a community, and then you've got the affiliate. So you then got that. On this is a YouTube video. On my Instagram, I just posted up last night a very short list, which was, again, sort of off the top of my head, about the problem, identifying the problem, which is that people have these massive audiences, but they don't have the sort of the structure or the size and scale to compound into a full-time travel career straight away, or it doesn't happen as quickly or as early as what they might want, and things like that. And so I'm missing a couple of key ones in this one. Maybe another big key one is brands, right? Advocating for brands and promoting their products and services, and then you make it an affiliate link or some type of commission code. And so any brands that will work with you, UGC content, etc. Depending on how the deal is structured, you can then work with them. there's an opportunity here, which is that there's another avenue. There might be others, so these are just the ones that, again, have come off the top of my head. And I've put a very short list, very similar to this, as the intro of the highlight story on at Create Commerce Instagram page. Digital products is another one. I just came to, jogged my memory there. So digital products, but again, whether you charge what, $5 or $10 or $15 or $49 for your travel PDF, you do need a bit of size and scale to be able to, for people to pull in. And so depending on who you are, or depending on if it's a travel guide or some type of other related digital product that relates to your travels, perhaps it has limited effect, or it's going to be a bit of a trickle of revenue and things coming in. But again, it's completely hands-off, it's completely removed. I think it's a great way to get going, and it certainly should be within your arsenal. I think it's digital products not just relevant to travel creators, but a lot of full-time creators should be leveraging, or would be leveraging, some type of digital product, because it's effectively, once the product is created, it sits there indefinitely, and you don't need to do anything to be able to receive those funds and the sales. It's great. I feel like there's a little bit of a missed opportunity here. Relates back to brands, physical products. So there's obviously a lot of hype, or I feel like there's a lot of hype at the moment in some of the stuff that I'm looking at and consuming and viewing around digital products, and right, create your digital product and really promote that. Well, what about physical products? The challenge with physical products is that for people who do run e-com stores, it's very much a full-time job. It's more than a full-time job, and so you have full-time offices of staff and a full-time warehouse. And what I'm, perhaps in a sentence or two, what I'm proposing is that I would run that system completely off your hands, leveraging your distribution, you being the full-time travel creator, whether you have a couple of thousand or a couple of tens of thousands or a couple of 100,000 or 1 million or more followers, perhaps on one platform or across platforms. Why not add a physical product into your monetization mix? So perhaps you've got your tiered community. Perhaps you've got your affiliate links for your favorite eSIM company or travel insurance company that you leverage. You obviously, having your own physical product, I don't think would take away from brands approaching you to potentially work with them, collaborate with them in whatever they're thinking of doing, or in other sponsored posts and that type of thing. Your digital products are always going to be relevant. I feel like physical products, if there could be a system or a template or a model that we can implement together, has real opportunity there. So I'm in Guangzhou at the moment, and a lot of things are obviously made and manufactured and produced in China, and moving into a world where things are increasingly interconnected, more so now than ever before. And there are some great, I think a lot of people probably think about e-commerce, and as a travel creator, you don't have any physical address. You've got no geographical stability. There's no way that you are going to be, you don't have hours each day to be trying to coordinate physical products with suppliers, manufacturers, fulfillment centers, 3PLs in one country, let alone multiple countries. How do you deal with returns? How do you deal with sample reviewing? How do you deal with any of this stuff? And so in which case, the 20, 25, 30 odd Instagram pages that I've had a quick scan and look at over the past week or so, none of them have physical products. And they're all traveling full time. They're in Southeast Asia, they're in Europe, they're in Latin America, they're walking from country A over 2 or 3 years to another part of the world. They don't have, obviously they don't have time to be fiddling around with manufacturers and branding and logos and websites and back end and front end and photography and their bread and butter is creating content on the road to promote their own journey, but also I would like to think a little bit to inspire others. So I first moved away from Australia in 2016 and moved to Beijing and lived there for 6 months, and then I stayed on in China for another year. And then since 2016 up until now, 2025, I have spent most of the past decade living outside of Australia, which is where I'm from, in Byron Bay. And I've loved it, I've really loved it. But one of the factors, one of the reasons why I haven't been able to continue on for as long as I would have liked was to do with inability to make a living beyond a professional salary type job, right? So anyway, I feel like there's a real opportunity in this. I'm exploring this space. I might just leave it there for now. This is just going to be a very introductory video, but I just wanted to sort of share that with you as I continue on for the next couple of weeks here in Guangzhou, China. I had a couple of really good conversations over the past week or so, week to 2 weeks here in China, and even a little bit longer than that over the past couple of months, maybe 6+ months, with folks involved in this ecosystem, right? This manufacturing, production, product development, fulfillment center ecosystem that exists here in China. And it's a really interesting space, and I feel like there's absolutely opportunity to put together almost a bit of a turnkey solution for this type of service. I don't want it to be it's not a merch. I should clarify, it's not a merch, print on demand service. This will be, you would be, or you and I together, we would be building a product that fits your unique interests and take, almost as a bit of a flagship product. And there are examples of this. There are many creators, not necessarily travel creators, but many creators. And I'll probably hope to share a few of those on the Instagram page going forward. But they do well. I think it really helps them. I mean, if they've, beyond the sales and beyond the revenue, they feel super passionate about that particular item or that particular product and their way of life. And you're not trying to necessarily create a brand, although I wouldn't be opposed to turning it into a brand and working with you to do that, to have a wider selection of products beyond just, say, a very limited collection. But I think in the initial phase, the aim here, at least in my initial thinking, is to add in physical products as a piece of the pie of a travel creator's monetization pie. So you have your community, you have your digital products, you have your branded programs, you have your affiliate commissions. I know that some people do have an Amazon store, and so they'll have all of their products listed that they might be using. They'll have a list on their Amazon store, and then they might receive a single-digit commission whenever somebody goes in and makes a sale and purchases that particular product. But again, you are only making a single percentage. What if you could own the product, own the brand, and have that entire process from end to end outsourced, where all you would have to do would be to approve the sample. Obviously, we would be in collaboration with product development and the branding and the logo and the website and all the back end stuff. I don't expect you to have too much time to do, because it's not your focus, right? You're the creator, you make the videos, you make the content, you share the story, and this is just a physical product which is an embodiment of your journey and who you are as an individual, or as a group, or as a couple, or as a family. So that's what I'm currently thinking about. Again, I don't see this as necessarily being a silver bullet. I'm not saying it doesn't have potential to be a much larger physical product brand. I mean, obviously e-com is huge, right? And there are many examples out there of 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, even 9-figure e-commerce brands which go on to sell. But even just revenue-wise, it can be quite substantial. But of course, that would then come with a much larger product selection beyond just an initial, what I'm sort of referring to as a flagship product. signature product. I'm trying to try to tail off here. Ads. I'm not from the e-com world, but I feel like there is a lot of focus on ads, whether it's Meta, Google, others. It's like, how much money can you pull into an ad? And then obviously you get the ROAS, and that spits out a positive return, and you make money off of it, and great. And your ad spend can often naturally would eat into your net profit, potentially sometimes very substantially. So even if you're doing 6 figures a month in revenue, or 7 figures over the year, if you're spending a couple of $100,000 on ads over the year, well, $1 million is suddenly $250 or $300 less, because you've spent so much on ads. And then obviously you then have the cost of goods sold, which is the cost of the physical product itself, and then you have the freight, and you're left with very little money, despite being able to claim a fairly significant revenue number. So as a travel creator with potentially thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of followers, you are the ad, you are the constant ad, but you're not seen as an ad. So my thinking is that there wouldn't be a need for ads. Again, I'm not from this world, and I don't. Maybe there'll be a lot of people that disagree if they were to ever watch this video. But I feel like rather than, we wouldn't need to spend 300K on ads a year, assuming you do say 7 figures revenue, because the ads naturally come out in your UGC. And UGC is the best ad possible. I mean, ads are only really there to complement the best performing UGC anyway. At least that would be what my point of view would be, having followed a few people. Again, not for a super long period of time, a couple of months, maybe six plus months into this space. So anyway, so over the next couple of months, next step will be, I told myself that I wanted to update the Instagram page, this @CreateCommerce Instagram, at Instagram. I wanted to update it every day with something. So this is going to be that something. So I'm going to put a link to this video into the bio of the Instagram page. And I'll leave it there until there's another update of some sort. I am looking to have a trial or a test run of this system, this template, because I have to learn the actual template. Right now I can visualize all of the key steps that are involved. I was visiting a factory yesterday, I visited a factory this afternoon, I'll be visiting a fulfillment center tomorrow. So all of the pieces of the puzzle are coming together, and I'm not only, if I put them together in my mind, but I have also, I'm putting them together, right, whether it's contacts and networks and specific product categories, so that when things start to happen a little bit quicker, I'll be able to execute that rather than trying to connect dots much further down the line, because everything will have already been laid out and I can just put the pieces of the puzzle together when it comes in. Things like that. So the next step will be that I will put together a trial run of a particular product that I have an affinity with, that I would want to do and run with, and I'll launch that. The reason to launch that would be 10% of the purpose would actually be to have the product selling in the market, right? The global market. Your audience is global. It's not limited by geographical boundaries. Why sell just into New Zealand if you're a New Zealand travel creator and you're traveling all over the world? Why sell just into the UK or just into Canada, even though you're from those parts of the world? Your audience is global. Your consumers are global. Customers are global. So sell to them. And that's the mindset that I'm coming into this with. So I'll look to launch something in the next week or two, so you can keep a lookout for that. Just 10% of it is just to sell and launch the product, but 90% of the reason for doing it is to actually learn and understand the template that I would then seek to copy and implement again, copy and implement again, copy and implement again, again, tying in together manufacturers that I've got relationships with, many of which you cannot find on the internet. Either I've met them in person or we've connected somehow. And then obviously China-based 3PLs, a China-based fulfillment center here in the country, or the multiple China-based fulfillment centers, depending on your particular, the factors that might be coming together within your physical product business. So that's a bit of an overview, a bit of an introduction. Hope you found that useful. It was useful for me to at least be able to verbalize this and put something together and at least put something out there, because as I said, I'm going to try to really, I've got to be moving on a few different platforms, a few different accounts every 24 hours or so as things start to move forward and as things start to roll out. And I feel like the momentum of taking action means that the next action is actually much easier to take. If you spend too long thinking about something, a week goes by and you haven't done anything about it, or you haven't made a decision. And not making the decision is almost worse than making an incorrect decision. Because if you make an incorrect decision, you can just backtrack after 2 or 3 days of realizing it doesn't work and then make the right decision again. Or you can, right? Whereas if you stall and you lose that momentum, then you just never take action, the action necessary to get you to where you need to go. So that'll be it for this video. I'm mainly focusing on shorts at the moment, but long form's obviously super interesting, super vital as well going forward for not only for myself to review in future, but potentially it'll be there in the bank of videos for when this thing comes out in future, and look forward to continuing to drive this forward. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions or comments, get in touch via Instagram. Okay. Cheers, bye.